What is going on, fight fans? Yo, it might actually be happening. No, I'm not capping in this one. This is pretty important. We need to talk about this. So let's quickly jump into this topic. This is Edward, and you're watching Boxing Fanatico. All right, guys. So you guys know that I'm excited for ESBC. I'm excited for Esports Boxing Club. But I never thought that EA would release Fight Night, just simply because it didn't make sense financially for them to release Fight Night unless they saw a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that ESBC is kind of a double-edged sword where they see so much potential and they're trying to bring out something that's going to be special and unique, but at the same time it gives analytics and data to a big company like EA Sports to say, is this something that people actually want? And then to see all this excitement brewing and like this kind of exponential growth in terms of hype, or in terms of people kind of latching on and learning about this game, to see that gives them data that they don't have to pay for or anything. How badly do people really want a boxing game? And we don't know what the contracts are looking like for AJ and Fury. They might do this game off of the backs of AJ and Fury. Also, if they were to release an EA Sports Fight Night game, they could at that point also sway people who haven't been signed yet to go over to EA Sports, because it's like, hey, we're the pinnacle of boxing games. We're the boxing game of this generation. Well, actually, funny enough, of the last generation. We've always been at the top of the totem pole. We are the known brand, the popular brand. So they can probably start to create a rift where it's not just an easy question. Hey, do you want to sign with ESBC? Heck yeah, you guys are the premier boxing game that's coming out. Now there might be two options. So any gaps that are left, because some people are saying, well, if they were to do a reveal, which we're going to talk about that, by the way, it looks like there's Fight Night is going to be revealed July 20th, and I'm going to break that down and talk about that real quick. But just kind of setting the overall understanding of why they would do this, or if they even have like a fighting chance. Number one, they have name recognition, so they have that. And number two, yes, even though Esports Boxing Club has grabbed so many amazing talents, there are so many other amazing talents that they haven't grabbed. They haven't grabbed someone like Shakur Stevenson, for example. They haven't grabbed like the Charlo brothers. They haven't grabbed so many other people. They have Canelo, but they don't have Inoue. You know what I mean? They have so many people there's so many people available still that haven't been grabbed up or locked in by EA or locked in by Esports Boxing Club. So it is not a done deal. Sure, they won't have Canelo. Sure, they won't have Lomachenko, but they could still have Manny Pacquiao. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a done deal in terms of fighters. They could also still have Deontay Wilder. They could also still have AJ and Fury. They can have so many people into their roster and still compete and still fill in the gaps from everyone who's not in ESBC. So it isn't a done deal simply because ESBC has signed a lot of people. Have they? Yes. Is it over? Absolutely not. There are so many more people that people still want in the game. This is probably the most leaning towards a Fight Night reveal that I've seen in the last 10 years. So just so that we are aware of what is being said exactly, because we don't want to just go off the backs of like what people say or how people report it. We got to read exactly what EA stated. So this is their exact statement taken from EA.com. July 20th at 10 a.m. PT, which will be 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Look, we're not allowed to tell you much about this one yet. Sorry. But we can say this spotlight will highlight an extremely cool new addition to an extremely popular and long-running EA Sports franchise. We may have said too much already. Just keep your calendar free, okay? So what could this mean? Could this mean that they're just adding to something that is already popular? Or could this mean that they're adding to their EA Sports lineup by something that was long running and popular? And that, if that's the case, because this comment or this statement can be split into two things. Is there just an addition to a long running EA Sports title? Or is there a new title being added to the EA Sports lineup that was a popular long running title? Now, some people might say SSX Tricky if they were going that route, or it could be NBA Jams, or some people say that maybe NCAA basketball. Some people could say it could be Def Jam, which is a fighting game, but I don't think it ever went under the banner of EA Sports. I don't think Def Jam was EA Sports, nor do I think SSX Tricky, which is another one that a lot of people think is going to be a possible reveal, is part of EA Sports. I think it was just EA, since it was like an over-the-top, unrealistic kind of snowboarding game. Could it be, NBA Jam? Maybe, but because they haven't really done well in the market value when it comes to basketball, like NBA Live, I can't see it being NBA Jams or NBA Street. I can't see any of that being put together, or even NCAA basketball. So it only leads me to believe that the only long-running franchise that they've had is EA Sports Fight Night. I mean, Fight Night was incredibly long-running. It ran for a very long time. And we know that EA, from journalists, especially Forbes magazine, we know that they had a close eye on the success of ESBC. And now ESBC was put into E3. Now ESBC has been covered to a certain extent by IGN, by IGN putting it on its platform, and other places like Game Trailers and Games Radar, everybody putting it on its platform. So it's being talked about, it's growing in popularity. People like Canelo is bringing even more attention to it. And there was a loud calling for the game to be released back when they were showing pictures of Canelo and they're saying Fight Night Champion 2 or whatever it is. So there was interest there. If anything was to make sense for them to try to bring back, it would be Fight Night. Now, a lot of people are so stuck on, well, it can't be Fight Night because they make UFC. That's like saying, well, they couldn't make NBA because they make NFL. They were making NBA and NFL. You don't necessarily need the exact team that worked on Fight Night to also be the exact team to work on this Fight Night. They can grab up a brand new team and make Fight Night. They don't need the same team. They just need the same money to make the same game. They can have a team that makes UFC games and a team that makes Fight Night games. All that has to matter is that EA feels that this will be a financially viable option to add. Now, since they had such a strong hold on the boxing video game community back in the days, I think that they feel their brand loyalty will bring them a long way into being successful if this is the route that they're going to go. So please don't think that because they make UFCs, they're completely locked into making UFC. That doesn't make sense. It's like they can make every other sports game that deals with a ball, but they can't make another kind of fighting sports game because they have a fighting sports game. Those are two different sports games that have overlap. Same thing as football and basketball. Football and basketball, a lot of people who watch basketball also watch football, vice versa. But it doesn't mean that they're not gonna buy football, and it doesn't mean that they're not gonna buy basketball. And it doesn't mean that someone who likes basketball more won't buy a football game because they want to play a football game. And it's the same thing. Just because you like football more doesn't mean you won't buy a basketball game, because you might want to play a basketball game. It's called variety. And I don't think that concept of having a UFC game would stop them from making a boxing game. Just a quick reminder, when they made their first MMA game, it was EA. When they made their first MMA game, it was EA MMA. EA MMA came out before Fight Night Champion. So they were making both EA MMA and Fight Night Champion at the same time. The games literally came out the same year. Literally on the same year, or within like 6 months of each other. So they were working on both MMA and boxing. So it is not impossible for those who think that it is. It is not impossible for EA to make both, to do both. They could extend their 10-year contract and still make this with a brand new team, or whatever they want to do to make it. They don't need to take away from one to put into the other. So now, what do I think about this? I think that this would be a fantastic thing if they do release. Now, remember how it's worded. We don't know exactly what they're trying to say. They're incredibly cryptic. Is it in addition to something that they already have, or is it in addition to the lineups of what they already have? We'll just have to wait and see. But I think I'm gonna go live on that day. I think I'm gonna go live when they do this reveal at 1 p.m. Eastern time, July 20th. So stay tuned. Hang out with me. Let's see what it is. If it is Fight Night, we're gonna get some crazy, whatever Fight Night stuff. If it ain't, it ain't. But I'm incredibly curious. And if it is Fight Night, I'll be happy. But they have to figure out how to move forward, because Fight Night Champion was not it. That was not it. They can't be that lazy. They're going to have to figure out if they want to be arcade or if they want to be sim, and they're going to have to stick to one of those. One of the reasons why I'm very optimistic about ESBC is because they have claimed their stake in being simulation, and that's what I've always wanted. However, there are things that EA have done in the past that I felt really good about. Fight Night 2004 is one example. Even Fight Night Round 3, some things were kind of wonky, but it had a good kind of system to it with the 6-axis blocking and the movement and the fluidity and the foot and how quickly you can move on your feet. I think they need to focus on stuff like footwork. They need to focus on stuff like blocking and focus on better stamina management. And they can move this into a more simulation game. I think that is very possible, but that's how they're going to have to come out here. They're going to have to stake their claim. Are they arcade or are they sim? And please don't try to be both, because that's all they've done for so long with the Fight Night series. I'm happy because competition just breeds a better product for everyone. I'm definitely going to be playing both regardless, but I know that if Fight Night does get revealed, it will definitely make both of them better, because Fight Night is no longer coming out as just the only man on the block, and ESBC won't be the only man on the block. So they're both going to have to go head to head. But have they been working underground? Have they been working underground making this game? If so, then this could be a really tight battle. But if not, then they won't be releasing any images or videos, and they won't be releasing the game for another 3 years minimum. So if that's the case, ESBC can still have a leg up on Fight Night. But we're just going to have to wait and see. I am going to be going live July 20th at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So stay tuned. I can't wait. I want to know what this is. Is this finally them revealing the Fight Night franchise? Because it's been over 10 years. This might be their 10-year, comeback after a decade. Here you go type scenario. That's all I got for today. This is Edward, and I'll see you in the next one.